Such a strange image, the large heads with the helmets on them, and how do they universally look like that? I mean,
all of the features are very, very similar.
What if Native American elders knew about a race so terrifying it could wipe out entire tribes? On Joe Rogan's podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, he dives into wild stories like these.
That's large-headed people they had larger heads than us. That existed with us. They had like big fucking eyebrows and big heads.
Tales of giants, cannibals, and mysteries buried in history. Imagine 10-foot tall white giants or red-haired freaks eating human bones. Sounds crazy, right?
Just eating meat and raiding and killing.
Yeah, so, they were hunter-gatherers.
Yeah.
They were nomadic hunter-gatherers.
Yeah.
But these legends aren't just campfire stories. They've got tribes like the Choctaw and Paiute whispering about them for centuries. Stick around because this gets weirder than you think. Joe Rogan and the JRE setting the stage. Joe Rogan's no stranger to digging into the wild side of history. His podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, or JRE for short, has been a juggernaut since it kicked off in 2009. By 2025, it's racked up millions of listeners, all tuning in for Rogan's mix of curiosity and no-filter chats. He's a guy who went from stand-up comedy and UFC commentary to hosting one of the biggest platforms for big ideas. And yeah, he's got a thing for Native American stuff, legends, lost tribes, you name it. It's not hard to see why. These stories are packed with drama, mystery, and just enough what the heck to keep you hooked. So picture this, Rogan's in his studio, red lights glowing, puffing on a cigar, and he's got some guests, maybe a historian, maybe a conspiracy nut, spilling the beans about Native American elders, warning of a race that could end tribes. He's leaning in asking, wait, so these giants were real? That's classic Rogan. He's not afraid to go there, whether it's aliens, Bigfoot, or ancient giants stomping across America. His vibe's casual, like he's just shooting the breeze with a buddy, but he's secretly dropping knowledge bombs.
This was something that was going on before the white settlers even got there. That this way of life and the raiding and the killing, and that's not what we associate Native Americans with. We associate us with taking the Native Americans' land and them fighting back, and that's when things get ugly.
That's what makes JRE perfect for a topic like this. It's raw, it's real, and it's got room for the crazy. The episode we're talking about here isn't pinned down to an exact number. Rogan's done over 2,000 by now, but it fits his wheelhouse. He's had guests like Graham Hancock, who loves ancient mysteries, or Eddie Bravo, who'd probably say these giants were lizard people. Point is, Rogan's platform gives these old native stories a fresh spin. He's not just retelling them, he's asking the big questions. Did this stuff actually happen? Were these elders onto something? And why do these tales still hit us in the gut centuries later? Now, Rogan's not some academic with a PhD. He's a dude who's curious, skeptical, and a little bit wild. That's why millions listen. He's like us, just trying to figure out what's up. When he tackles Native American legends, it's not dry history class stuff. It's more like, holy crap, did giants really walk the earth? And that's where we're headed next, the meat of these stories, straight from the tribes themselves. Because if Rogan's jazzed about it, there's got to be something worth hearing. But hold up, why's Joe Rogan even talking about this? Let's peel back the layers and get into the tribal legends he's riffing on, because they're the real backbone of this mystery. White giants and native legends, tribal tales. So Joe Rogan's got these Native American legends on the table, and they're wild. Tribes like the Choctaw, Comanche, Navajo, and even the Manta from Peru talk about white giants. Huge, powerful dudes who weren't exactly friendly neighbors. These weren't just tall guys, they were threats. The kind of thing elders warned about to keep their people sharp. Let's break it down, tribe by tribe, and see what's up with these stories. First up, the Choctaw. They've got this tale from way back, written down by a guy named Horatio Cushman in 1899. It's about the Nahulo, white giants they ran into while crossing the Mississippi River. These things were massive, cannibals even, chowing down on Choctaw folks who got too close. The tribe fought back, took them out, and later started calling all white people Nahulo. No heights given, but wonderful stature sounds pretty darn big. Imagine crossing a river and seeing some 10-foot cannibal glaring at you. Yikes. Then there's the Comanche out on the Great Plains. Chief Rolling Thunder, back in 1857, told of a race of white men, 10 feet tall, loaded with cash and skills. They built cities, fought wars, and ruled everything until the Great Spirit said, "Nah, you're too proud," and wiped them out. It's like a superhero movie gone wrong. These guys were crafty, brave, but forgot about playing nice, and boom, gone. Ever wonder if that's a warning about power getting out of hand? The Navajo take it up a notch with the Starnake people. These white giants had mining tech way ahead of their time and ran the show out west. They enslaved smaller tribes, built strongholds, and basically owned America. Then poof, they either got zapped by some unknown force or flew back to the sky. Mining giants? That's some science fiction stuff right there. It makes you think, were these elders hinting at something real or just spinning a killer story? Now the Manta people from Peru, they're the wild card. Pedro Chiesa de Leon wrote in 1553 about giants rolling up in reed boats. Here's the kicker, their legs from knee to foot were as tall as a whole guy, say 5 feet. Do the math and you're looking at maybe 18 feet tall, 18. They took over, acted gross, and eventually died out. That's not just a giant, that's a freaking skyscraper with legs. Hard to believe, but it's in the books. These tales aren't carbon copies, they're flavored by each tribe's life. The Choctaw fought, the Comanche saw a downfall, the Navajo got techie, and the Manta went full monster movie. No hard proof backs up giant bones, but the stories stick around. Maybe they're about real enemies exaggerated over time, or maybe they're lessons wrapped in epic packaging. Either way, Rogan's eating this up, and you can see why. It's too juicy to ignore. But giants don't stop with the white ones. There's a whole other flavor out west that's got bones to back it up, kinda. Let's head to Nevada and see what the Paiute were dealing with. Red-haired giants of Lovelock Cave, the Paiute story. Out in Nevada, the Paiute tribes got a story that's half legend, half nightmare. It's about the Saitaka, red-haired white cannibals who messed with their people. Joe Rogan's probably leaned into this one hard on JRE because it's got everything: caves, battles, and a creepy vibe. The Paiutes say these guys were giants, maybe 10 feet tall, and they weren't just trouble, they ate people. Imagine that for a sec. You're chilling by the Humboldt Sink, and some red-headed freaks eyeing you like lunch. The legend, passed down and written by Sarah Winnemucca Hopkins in 1882, says the Paiutes had enough. They tracked the Sitika to Lovelock Cave, about 150 feet long, and set a trap. They smoked them out, literally, funneling smoke into the cave until the giants were toast. Brutal, but effective. The story's got this epic showdown feel, like the Paiutes were the underdogs taking down a monster. Rogan'd probably say, "That's badass, man," and it is. Here's where it gets real, though. Lovelock Cave's an actual place, and people have dug there. Back in the 1920s, Llewellyn Loud and his team found over 10,000 artifacts, baskets, knives, sagebrushes, you name it. They also pulled up human bones, some with the marrow scooped out, knife marks and all. Cannibalism? Maybe. But here's the catch. Those bones weren't giant-sized. They're normal, like you or me. So were the Sitka just regular jerks who got taller in the telling? The red hair's legit, though. Mummies from the cave have it. Scientists say it might be from the environment, not genetics, but it fits the legend. No 10-foot skeletons, sadly. Loud's report didn't find any, and the cave's collapse around 440 BC probably didn't help preservation. Still, 10,000 artifacts means something went down there. Maybe famine pushed people to eat each other, and the giant tag was a way to make the enemy scarier. Ever think how stories grow legs like that? Rogan's guests would jump on this. Hancock might say it's lost history, Bravo might call it a cover-up. But for the Paiutes, it was survival. Their elders warned about these cannibals for a reason: stay sharp or you're next. It's less about literal giants and more about a real threat baked into a tale that stuck around. Okay, giants are cool, but what about something spookier that doesn't need height to freak you out? Let's shift gears to a ghost story that's got its own kind of chill. The Bakwas, a supernatural twist. Not every warning from native elders is about giants stomping tribes out. Take the Kwakwaka'wakw people from British Columbia. They've got the Bakwas, a ghostly wild man that's more creepy than colossal. Joe Rogan might have skimmed this on JRE, maybe with a guest into weird folklore because it's a curveball from the giant stuff. This isn't about wiping out tribes, it's personal, sneaky, and straight-up eerie. The Bakwas hangs out in forests and by the water, looking like a skeleton with long hair and big round eyes. Sounds like something you'd see in a horror flick, right? Here's the deal. It's shy at first, lurking around drowned spirits, munching cockles off the beach. But if you're lost in the woods, it'll sidle up with a gift, berries or dried salmon. Except, plot twist, it's not food. It's rotten bugs, snakes, or lizards. Take a bite and bam, you're a Bakwas too. Stuck as a ghost forever. That's some next-level trickery. The Kwakwaka'wakw use this in ceremonies. Dancers wear masks, covering their faces to play up the shyness. It's not just a spooky story, it's a warning. Don't trust strangers in the wild, especially ones offering free snacks. Rogan would probably crack a joke here like, "I'd rather starve than eat maggot salmon." But for the tribe, it's serious. Lose your way, and you might lose your soul. This isn't about a race taking out a tribe, like the giants. It's smaller, more intimate, but still ties into that elder wisdom. Watch out because danger's everywhere. No bones or caves to dig up here, just a legend that's lived through storytelling. Ever wonder what you'd do if some creepy figure handed you a sketchy snack? Yeah, me neither. I'm running. Science versus stories. What's the evidence? All right, Joe Rogan's all about asking the big what-if questions, but when it comes to these Native American giant legends, science steps in with a raised eyebrow. We've got tribes talking about 10-foot cannibals and 18-foot boat dudes, but where's the proof? Spoiler, it's thin. Let's dig into what's out there or not and figure out what's up with these stories. Take Lovelock Cave, that Paiute hotspot. Archaeologists like Llewellyn Loud pulled out bones with marrow scraped out. Creepy, sure, and it hints at cannibalism. But giant skeletons? Nada. The remains are normal-sized, maybe a bit tall for the time, but not 10 feet. The red hair's real, though. Mummies had it, possibly from soil or time messing with the color. No towering Siteka skeletons, just regular folks who might have had a rough day. So, why the giant label? Maybe it's like fishing stories. Starts small, ends huge. Then there's the broader picture. People love citing old 19th century newspaper clippings about giant skeletons in burial mounds across America. Problem is, those reports are sketchy. No photos, no follow-up, just hype. Modern digs, like at Cahokia or other native sites, find nada over 7 feet. Scientists say if giants were real, we'd have bones, tools, something big. Instead, we've got normal stuff, knives, baskets, the usual. Ever wonder if those elders were just amping up the enemy to sound scarier? Cannibalism, though, that's got legs. Lovelock's bones show knife marks, and other sites, like the Anasazis in the southwest, have chewed up remains from tough times. Famine could have pushed people to extremes, and stories turned it into giant cannibals. No need for a 10-foot dude when hunger's already terrifying. Rogan might say, "Man, that's dark," and he'd be right. It's survival, not sci-fi. What about those manta giants 18 feet tall? Pedro Chiesa de Leon's account is wild, but no giant fossils back it up. Peru's got mummies, sure, but they're standard height. Proportions might have been exaggerated, or it's a metaphor for invaders who seemed larger than life. Science leans toward these being cultural tales, not history lessons. They explain weird bones like mastodon fossils, or warn about real threats puffed up over generations. No labs confirming giants, but the stories, they're gold. Okay, science isn't buying the giant thing, but who's feeding Rogan these tales anyway? Let's zoom in on the guests who bring this stuff to his table and why they matter. Joe Rogan's guests? Who's talking about this? Joe Rogan doesn't cook up these Native American giant stories solo. He's got a roster of guests who drop the goods. On JRE, it's less about stuffy professors and more about folks who love a good mystery. So, who's been on mic talking tribes, giants, and elders warnings? Let's meet a few and see what they bring. Graham Hancock's a big one. This guy's all about lost civilizations. Think Atlantis, but dirtier. He's been on JRE a bunch, like episode number 142, with over 10 million views by 2025. Hancock's into the idea that ancient America had weird stuff going on, maybe advanced folks who got erased. He'd say these giant legends could be echoes of a forgotten race, not just tall tales. Rogan eats it up, asking, "So you're telling me giants mine the West?" It's speculative, but it fits the vibe. Then there's Eddie Bravo. Rogan's conspiracy buddy. He's on a lot, like hashtag 911 or hashtag 1283, tossing out wild takes. Eddie'd probably spin the CT into aliens or government cover-ups, half joking but half serious. "Bro, they're hiding the giant bones," he'd yell while Rogan chuckles. It's not deep history, but it keeps the chat lively. Ever catch yourself nodding to a crazy theory just because it's fun? That's Eddie's magic. Randall Carlson's another name, geologist, myth guy, on episodes like 606. He's into floods and ancient cataclysms, so he might tie the giants' wipeout to some natural disaster. Less about cannibals, more about why stories stick. Rogan digs his brainy side, pushing, could this be real evidence? Carlson's measured. He'd say it's cultural memory, not literal giants. These guests aren't native experts. Folks like Adrienne Mayer, who wrote Fossil Legends of the First Americans, don't pop up much. Rogan leans toward big-picture thinkers who riff, not lecture. They're why JRE's huge. They make you wonder without needing a textbook. Hancock's Lost Worlds, Bravo's nuttiness, Carlson's disasters, they all fuel Rogan's what-if fire on these elder warnings. Rogan's crew keeps the convo spicy, but why do these legends hit so hard even now? Let's unpack what they mean to native folks and why they're still buzzing today. Cultural impact. Why these legends matter. These Native American stories, giants, cannibals, ghosts, aren't just old news Rogan digs up for clicks. They're alive, woven into the fabric of tribes like the Choctaw, Paiute, and beyond. Elders didn't spin these for fun. They're lessons, history, and identity rolled into one. So, why do they still matter in 2025? And what's the big deal? Let's break it down. For starters, these tales were Survival 101. The Choctaws Nahulo fight? That's about grit. Cross the river, face the monster, win. The Paiute smoking out the Site-Ka? Same deal, protect your people, no matter what. Elders pass these down to say, hey, threats are out there, stay sharp. It's not about literal giants, it's about real enemies, other tribes, settlers, nature, amped up to stick in your head. Ever notice how a good scare makes you remember stuff better? They're also history without paper. Native folks didn't write books back then, they talked. Legends like the Comanche's 10-foot rulers or Navajo's Starnake miners might hint at lost tribes, trade rivals, or even Europeans showing up early. The Manta's boat giants could be conquistadors, stretched into myth. No dates, no maps, just stories that carry the past. Rogan's probably said, that's nuts, it's like oral Wikipedia, and he's not wrong. Culturally, they're glue. Tribes today, like the Kwakwaka'wakw with their Bakwas masks, still use these in ceremonies, art, even powwows. It's pride, a way to say, this is us. When the Paiute tell the Lovelock story, it's not just a win, it's who they are, fighters. Same with the Choctaws Nahulo battles. These aren't dusty museum pieces, they're living, breathing roots. Ever think how your family's old stories shape you? Multiply that by centuries. Beyond tribes, they hit us all. Movies, books. Giants are everywhere because they tap something deep. Fear of the big unknown, maybe, or awe at what came before. Rogan's tapping that too. Why else would millions tune in? In 2025, with native voices louder online, these legends get fresh air, reminding us history's not just white guys in wigs. They challenge what we think we know, and that's power. They're not perfect, though. Exaggeration creeps in. No giant bones mean they're more vibe than fact, but that's okay, they're not science textbooks. They're about meaning, warning, teaching, connecting. That's why they stick, from elders' fires to Rogan's mic. These stories carry weight here, but are giants just an American thing? Let's hop across the globe quick and see if anyone else was sweating the same big problems. Similar legends. Elsewhere, a wider look. Rogan's deep into Native American giant tales, but they're not solo acts. Other cultures have their own big bads, and it's worth a quick peek to see how they stack up. Are these elder warnings a global thing? Let's zip around and find out. In Greece, you've got the Titans, huge godlike dudes who ruled before Zeus and crew took over. Hesiod's Theogony from 1200 BC says they were massive, locked up after a cosmic brawl. Sound familiar? Like the Comanche's giants, they're powerhouses who fall. No cannibalism, but the wipeout vibes there. Were Greeks and natives swapping notes or just scared of the same stuff? Over in Ireland, the Fomorians pop up in old myths. These giant sea raiders were ugly, mean, and fought the Tuatha De Danann, think Irish superheroes. The Book of Invasions pegs them as invaders who got beat back, kinda like the Manta's boat giants minus the 18-foot flex. It's that outsider threat again, blown up big. Then there's Goliath from the Bible, 9 feet tall, Philistine champ, taken out by David's sling. Old Testament's fuzzy on dates, but it's ancient. Not a race, just one guy, but the giant killer trope fits the Paiutes cave stunt. Everyone loves an underdog, right? Even in Peru, beyond the Manta, the Inca had tales of Viracocha creating giants who got too rowdy, so he flooded them out. Chronicler Garcilaso de la Vega wrote that in 1609. Another Giants Gone Wrong story, echoing the Great Spirit's smackdown. Seems like big guys can't catch a break anywhere. These aren't exact matches, different flavors, same spice. Giants mean danger, power, something to overcome. Maybe it's human nature to make threats larger than life, whether you're in Nevada or Athens. Rogan loved this. It's like the world's elders were all on the same wavelength, just with local twists.